Hey guys, this is going to be a short video on heirship affidavits. If you find it useful, don't forget to take a moment to like us, check out our YouTube channel and subscribe, and make any comments below. So you're buying a property that is in some type of probate and you find out that the sellers don't have a will. What can you do? Well, in the real estate world, one of the things that we can do so often, not always, is we can utilize an affidavit of heirship. So what is that? That is simply an affidavit, usually by a family member, a spouse, a child, who can affirm the facts of the decedent's life. And the decedent is the person who passed away. But when you're looking at a transaction, you don't want to just look at it singularly. So unfortunately, guys, we guys tend to go first because the women drive us crazy and kill us. Okay, only kidding there. We just carry more stress, I think, and they do things better in a few things along the way. But let's say that mom is the surviving spouse. She doesn't have a will. You have to ask the question, was there a dad that was involved in this particular house? Because 80% plus of the time there was. Was his estate probated through a will or an heirship affidavit? And guys, again, 90% of the time the answer is no. So you got to go back sometimes. There are even situations on an heirship scenario where maybe mom and dad inherited it from grandparents, but no one did anything even going back for their lives. So it starts with having some basic understanding of probate and asking questions the best you can to get a feeling for what's going on. You know, is it possible that mom and dad were divorced and after divorce, mom bought the property and then passed away? Certainly. All these things play into each other. Along the way, you've got to ask about children and, you know, where did they come into play? Were mom and dad married once and only once? And did they have children? Are those children alive or not? Had there been prior marriages where mom and dad maybe had children from outside of the current marriage or not? Because the knowledge base of this will depend who actually has ownership. Is it the surviving spouse 100% or maybe the children in some format? Were it dad's children who passed away and then mom and dad's kids, but not mom's prior children? Who knows? So getting a fair knowledge is very, very beneficial of probate to help understand that when you're talking to your seller. You don't need to be an expert. That's why you have real estate closing attorneys who will help you through this, such as Horne and Associates PC here in Dallas. We start with a simple heirship questionnaire. And this is usually filled out by the surviving spouse or by the surviving children of the estate. And in that, we're going to want to know, of course, who is the person giving the affidavit, their relationship, their address, date of birth, things of that nature. We're going to want to know who passed away, when they passed away. We want to know what county they were in and were they actually a legal resident of that county. That means usually for about 90 days or more to become a legal resident. Were they a legal resident of the state they lived in, which is usually a 6-month time frame? What was their marriage history? Were they married once and only once, or did they have 14 marriages along the way? What children were produced out of each one of those marriages? Their names, addresses, dates of birth, items of that nature. If those children are deceased, we're going to probably have to do heirship affidavits on those deceased children also. And then the question becomes, do they have a spouse? Would that spouse inherit the property or their children possibly? So you've got to slow down a little bit, sit down with your seller and go through all these questions. Help them fill this out. Hopefully it's a simple process and things flow very smoothly, but so often this gets very convoluted very quickly. And so you need someone who is knowledgeable in probate to help you fill out the heirship questionnaire, know who the proper ownership is along the way, so that this helps you with the closing process. Once you go through the heirship affidavit, getting a copy of the death certificate is very important. This helps the closing agent validate those items. And you're going to need to have 2 corroborating witnesses. Now, these witnesses are people who are friends of the family, neighbors, church members, people who knew the person who passed away for at least 5 years or more. We prefer 10 years or more, longer if possible, just to be able to verify that the facts contained in the affidavit are true and correct to the best of their knowledge. Now, guys, there are going to be situations that we run into where there's absolutely no way anyone is going to be alive who knew grandmom and granddad 80 or 100 years ago. We've come across that. But what you can do is find that longtime friend of the family who knows the family history, who can then state that the facts contained in the heirship affidavit are true and correct to the best of their knowledge. Again, it's helping to verify and validate the family tree out there a little bit. And this is all important to do it the right way, because you are going to sign an affidavit. That affidavit is going to have some various clauses in there, because when you sign it, you'll be signing it under a penalty of perjury. And do people really fudge the facts on an heirship questionnaire in order to maybe get more money? Absolutely they do. But we want them to realize that there is serious civil and criminal liability if those kind of things happen out there. So again, understand what is needed in there. These witnesses need to be able to sign off on an affidavit as well. And of course, these affidavits that will be signed are notarized, because they are going to be recorded in the county of the residence where the property is located. And if there are multiple properties in multiple counties, those heirship affidavits need to be recorded in County 1, then a certified copy obtained and recorded in County 2, 3, and 4 as the case may be. You've got to track that on down the line. And so again, when you're working through an heirship scenario, it all starts with asking questions and trying to discern the best answers you can. Sometimes you just can't do it. Other times you can do it very easily. You may have to go to a court and file what is called a dependent administration, which means that there is no will, but you let the court come up with a determination of facts in heirship to ensure that you can buy the property and obtain good title to the property. The whole reason for doing this is to get good sound facts so that the title underwriters approve the affidavits. They can have good assurances of who the real owners are pursuant to the laws of intestate succession for the state where you're located, so that when they issue title, that they know that they're issuing good title from the proper sellers to their buyer. So guys, heirship affidavits are a great way to get around the long, drawn-out, expensive part of probate. They can be done much quicker than probate as well. But all things are important, and knowledge is important in knowing how to navigate them. Hope that helped you out a little bit in how to handle heirship affidavits on your next real estate transaction. So guys, I hope you found this video on heirship affidavits helpful, understanding. If you found it useful, take a minute and like it. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comment below as well. And if you want to learn more about owner finance and creative finance transactions, take a minute and visit us over at theownerfinancenetwork.com.